Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining me this morning for a quick overview of online challenges. My name is Tanya Weber. I am the Community Engagement Coordinator for the REC Foundation. I have been with the REC Foundation since 2017 in a myriad of roles, but I've always been involved with volunteers and online challenges. A reminder that this session is being recorded and it will be posted online on a later day. And also, we do have closed caption available through a separate link for this session. Closed caption will also be available when we post the video in YouTube. As with the other sessions, at the end of this presentation, there will be an opportunity for questions, comments, and feedback. And I will answer as many questions as possible as time permits. But please know that after this presentation and this summit, you may reach out to me or your RSM with any additional questions or assistance regarding our volunteer management system, volunteer recruitment resources, or our online challenges. Here we go. As Dan mentioned in opening remarks on Tuesday, with the team's registration fee, the REC Foundation offers a multitude of programs and resources, and one of the programs is the online challenges. Students from 30,000 teams from around the world are encouraged to learn or test new skills in a fun and engaging way through STEM-based challenges submitted online. Also, as mentioned over and over these last few days, and probably goes without saying, but the demand for virtual learning opportunities has increased due to the recent events. We are expanding online challenges to give more students opportunities to stay engaged. We must, however, keep in mind, as with any successful program, there are costs associated with them. Although we do not charge anything for a student or team to enter an online challenge, the team must have a verified paid registration for the upcoming season to be eligible to compete. Some of our online challenges could include website design, CAD design, photography, community involvement, video production, workforce development, programming, and much, much more. We will be going over some of them shortly, and I would love for any of you to share some ideas you may have for possible future challenges. As with everything else, this program will be as flexible and as fluid as we can possibly make it this season. In addition to offering a program that aligns with the missions of the REC Foundation, which is, of course, to increase student interest and involvement in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics by engaging them in hands-on, affordable, and sustainable robotics engineering programs, online challenges also provide opportunities to our students through service, solutions, and, of course, technology, which will allow them to flourish in a way that fosters the technical and the interpersonal skills necessary to succeed in the 21st century. So to share a little history about our online challenges, as you can see by this chart here, the program has been around since 2009. So we're going into our 13th season. You also see that our numbers of challenges and our entrants have steadily increased until 2019. And the reason for the drop in numbers was twofold that year. First, we removed a few challenges that were not attracting many students. And second, we removed online challenges being mandatory for teams to be eligible for the Excellence Award. And we honestly expected a much larger drop in numbers, but we're pleasantly surprised to see that we didn't lose that many overall entries, considering we had 3 less challenges. Breaking it down a little further, in 2009, the REC Foundation's online challenge program began in the fall with 105 entries in 4 challenges. In 2011, we added 2 additional challenges, and our entries increased by 68. That's when our sponsor Dell EMC joined us that year, and with the website challenge, which still exists today. In 2014, we were up to 8 challenges with 429 entries. And in 2015, we added the most popular challenge to date, the VEX Robotics Photography Challenge, debuting with 196 entries. The number of entries for this one challenge has gotten as high as 475, and that was in 2018. And in 2018, we also began offering our girl-powered online challenges. And as I mentioned in the previous slide, in 2019, online challenges were no longer part of Excellence Award requirements. So now I want to quickly go over the process from the back end to give you a bit of the big picture of how online challenges work. As mentioned before, and probably will again before I'm finished, this is a year for flexibility and change. The process always starts with someone internally, either from development, programs, our directors of regional operations, or RSMs working on new projects, such as Shelley and her teams VEX 123 and VEX Go. They reach out with an idea of a challenge and submit it. They submit an outline to be reviewed. The development team will review it as a potential new challenge and then work on finding a sponsor. Some challenges are even sponsored by us, the REC Foundation. Steve Rummel introduced yesterday 2 new rolling challenges that are being sponsored by us. But of course, we cannot sponsor them all, so this is a very important part of the process. Around this time each year, I establish a time frame for the challenges. Our typical fall challenges will open in early September and close late December or early January. The timeline also includes the date and time the challenge is open, the date and time the challenge is closed, date and time online voting opens and closes. We use online voting now as a matter for a tiebreaker only. The date and time the finalists will be announced, and the date and time the winners will be announced. And trust me when I tell you, the students know all of these dates and times. And the reason that I include time is because they're looking at that as well as just the date. Our timelines are very strict because we must always make sure that we have enough time for the judging process. Judging is completed in 3 phases. The first phase is the requirement phase, where judges are simply checking to see if the entrants met all the required elements of the challenge. Word count between 500 to 1500, is the entry in proper format, PDF, YouTube, etc. Was it uploaded correctly? Each challenge is a bit different. The second phase is the initial phase, and this takes the longest, especially if we have a lot of entries. Judges follow a rubric and judge each of their assigned entries. This year, I have taken special effort to ensure each student knows exactly what they are being judged on. The students will know what the criteria is, and they'll also know what the maximum points will be allowed for each criteria. I tried to make the challenges as transparent as possible. And I'm going to note right here to every one of you watching and listening, I always need judges. The third phase is the finalist phase. At the end of the initial phase, the finalists are announced publicly, and then the third phase of judging begins. The judges use the same rubrics as in the initial phase, but we have new judges. Once judging is complete and the results are verified, the winners are announced on our website. They're announced on our website as well as multiple social media platforms. We recognize the student and their school in those announcements. I notify each winner and the primary contact listed, which is typically a teacher, could in some cases be a parent. I also instruct them on how and when prizes will be distributed. So here's a quick look at the challenges we are working on for this season. The first column It includes our planned ongoing challenges, the Promote video challenges, Girl-powered or essay challenges, photography challenge, and website and CAD challenges. All challenges are always available to view on our website. You can go to challenges.robotevents.com. If you select the Challenges tab, there is also a list by year. You can simply select that year, and then you can select the challenge. So you can always go back to as far as 2009 and look at all the challenges that have previously been submitted. Now on the right-hand side, you see the contingency challenges. And that's those are the challenges that we're actually working on to go along with the difference in this season. We had a RAD stay-at-home challenge. We actually started in May and finished in May, and that was sponsored by For the Win Robotics. Yesterday, Steve introduced you to the two that will be starting tomorrow, the VIQC STEM Career Readiness Challenge and the VRC Annotate Programming Skills Challenge. And in addition, we are working on the Second Chance Challenges, and you will see those in the fall. One that I did forget to add to this list that you heard about yesterday from Mike and Nancy, they spoke about the IQ STEM research now being an online challenge, and that will be available in the fall. Now, in addition to the challenges that we listed on this presentation, those that attended Shelley Brasher's webinar and VEX 1, 2, 3 and VEX Go presentation, you learned that we will also be working on challenges for the younger age group, individual and team-based. And due to the shipping date anticipated for those two programs, we will hopefully be opening those challenges in November. So again, this goes back to our fluidity and as being able to be flexible, because typically we wouldn't be opening challenges in the middle of the year, but because we don't know what the future holds, we want to make sure these online challenges are always constantly available for keeping our students engaged. Other proposed challenges for the upcoming season. One's focused on the International Robotics Honor Society, inclusion and diversity initiatives. The future of online challenges will probably be a year-round rolling program, as I mentioned. We need to get students involved, and that starts with all of us. Messages will be sent when challenges are starting and when new ones are added. And I would honestly, today especially, like to hear from you of any additional advice on how to get every team involved in at least one challenge. Would be wonderful. The RET Foundation's marketing and communications team will be working with me to make sure that we get to showcase some of the amazing submissions we receive via social media and other avenues. And we've got many, many wonderful videos, promote videos, community online challenges from last year that students have worked really hard on submitting. And I really, really want to make it priority to make sure that we get those out there so that the public can see what our amazing students are capable of doing. And I know during Steve's contingency session yesterday, some were asking how to submit a challenge. And I apologize, I did not prepare for that for this presentation, but I can assure you that it is quite simple to do. And at the conclusion of this summit, I will work on a one-page document that will have full instructions and include some best practices and recommendations for students and teachers, and that'll be available for download for everyone. And then our final reminder, and then I would like to open it up for questions, comments, and discussion, is that there is indeed no cost. Again, I say there is no cost for a student or team to submit an entry, but the team associated with the entry must be registered for this season to be eligible to be a finalist or a winner. Additionally, students may enter more than one challenge. The sky is indeed the limit. So with that, we'll open it up, Amelia, for questions and comments.
Yeah, thanks, Tanya. It looks like we had a few questions come in. So again, make sure to put those questions or comments or ideas in that chat function. But two of the questions that we received is, did I understand correctly yesterday that the STEM research project will now be an online challenge? I thought I heard that, but I don't see it reflected on this list.
Exactly. And again, that's what I said on that contingency list. I forgot to add that one. But yes, indeed, the IQ STEM will now be an online challenge.
Great. A second question is, have we ever considered not having community votes determine the winners for the finalist?
I did change it this year because there's been a lot of controversy. As much as I appreciate the online voting, and I like to see, what I like to see most is when students are out there pushing their submissions and they're putting it online so people can see it, and they send them to the website to vote. But I have changed the online voting. I don't want to get rid of it completely, in my opinion. I think it's still a great resource to have, but I have changed it to only be used for a tiebreaker, because it's a popularity contest in a lot of people's opinions, and I get that. So I do still plan on having that open, but it will only be for tiebreaker purposes.
Got it. Thanks. Another question is, for the annotated programming skills challenge, does the robot have to solve this year's challenge, or can it solve last year's?
Well, that's a good question. Can you just ask it one more time so I understand it?
Yeah, for the annotated programming skills challenge, does the robot have to solve this year's challenge, or can it solve last year's?
I would like for Steve in the contingency team to answer that question for me. I don't have the challenge in front of me, and I apologize. So what you see online, you can actually read the requirements and the outline of that challenge. If it doesn't state it specifically, if you could just please send out an email to me, and then I will have Steve answer that question for us.
Okay. One of the questions is about the inclusive and diversity challenge. Can you elaborate more on that?
Well, we are working with Corey McCoy, who oversees our diversity and inclusion, on what that challenge is going to be. Honestly, I have information on it, but I don't have it in front of me. But it's going to be like the Unite Award, where we're trying to get more. Yeah, again, I don't want to say without knowing for sure. I have it, I just don't have it in front of me.
Okay,
but
another question
would be a good person to go to on exactly what we're working on that. But again, we have to still go through the process. We hope to include that. We know that it's an important subject, especially right now, what's going on in our world. So I hope that we'll have not one, but many of those in the future. But I can definitely get with Corey and answer that question.
Okay. Another question is, can teams submit multiple entries for the same online challenge, i.e. enter 2 CAD entries?
Yes and no. Only one team can enter, one participant per team can enter, let's say, a CAD challenge. However, if a school organization has multiple teams, you could have a student from each of those teams submit a challenge. So if you have team 123A and 123B, then you would be allowed 2 submissions, one for team A and one for team B.
Okay,
but
so multiple
from team A cannot submit an entry.
And one from each team.
Yeah.
Okay, another question is, can we add a recycling old game parts challenge?
That is actually one that was in the past, and it was actually one we talked about with the contingency group. I did talk to a couple of the folks that are on that committee, and I really wanted to include it. The only reason that we didn't for part of the contingency is the recycling challenge typically uses old parts from old games from previous years, and not having access to those perhaps for some of these students in the schools, since the schools are closed, we were unable to do it. But it is definitely, from the survey I did last year, one of the most popular challenges, and I would really like to see that return. Yes.
Great. And someone wants to know, can you give us an idea of what these student prizes, recognition, or incentives to participate are? Sometimes we need something to entice them other than a very small percentage getting a world's invite.
Absolutely. And that, again, is something that has been brought up on numerous occasions. And again, just because of what's happening and with World's invitations, we're just not quite sure how far that's going to go. And we do want students to be involved. Depending on the sponsor, we try to reach out to multiple sponsors, also depending on the challenge. We hope to include additional prizes. For example, for the CAD challenge, Autodesk always provides 3D printers. We have 5 of those each season that go out to winners. And so we have different items that can be used. In addition to that, most of our challenges include a VEX gift certificate. The monetary value, of course, differs. Everything's reliant on our sponsors. The more sponsors we can get, the more prizes we can offer. Community challenge this past year was the first challenge we ever not only offered an invitation to Worlds, but it was a paid registration fee, which was huge. And we do understand that those teams did not get to participate, but it still will be going forward to 2021, which we're excited about that. But we are working on different prizes and trying to be more creative about what we can offer because we absolutely want to entice them.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that one, if you all have any ideas of what some good prizes would be, we would love to know that too, so we can reach out to the sponsors for that too.
Absolutely.
Another question, Tanya, is can you elaborate more on the judging scoring rubric? How do you make sure judges apply the rubric the same way?
Well, a lot of it's subjective. We can't make sure the judges apply it the same way, but the questions are pretty simple. I will try to pull up one that I'm working on, and actually it may actually be on the ones that we'll be opening up tomorrow. If you look at the requirements phase, there at the very bottom of the challenge, you will see the judge's information. And I'm going to read it to you exactly as it states. And this will be the case for every single challenge that we have this year. The students will see up to 5 points will be awarded for student team members creating and producing the story. Now, of course, that's subjective. We have to just assume the students are creating the story, which is why it's 5 points. But the biggest one on this one is up to 30 points for an easy to read and well-designed entry. Points will be subtracted for issues with readability, layout, as well as issues that detract from engagement. Again, the requirement phase is cut and dry. Either you met the requirements or you didn't meet the requirements. But on the second and the initial phase of judging, it's based on these points you see, and it is subjective based on the judges.
Thanks. I think it's also important to note we have a number of judges too, so we try to get a good aggregated score that way.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, a couple more, so keep them coming. We love the feedback ones too. But another question is, some of the challenges close before we get back to school. Are there any thoughts on extending those deadlines?
Well, the reason for the challenges that we're doing, they are contingency challenges, and it is for and it is geared around staying at home and social distancing. Or the RAD challenge was completely a stay-at-home challenge. That was part of the requirement. We had to see that you were at home and you were doing it there, and you were, honoring your whatever the stay-at-home orders were for your area. The fall challenges are pretty cut and dry. We don't modify those, although sometimes if we get a sponsor that comes in a little later and says, hey, I want to jump on board here, then we can modify it. And again, this year is going to be a lot more fluid. So if we get more challenges, yes, we can modify those dates. But I will tell you, in the fall challenges, anything that's relying upon VEX World invitations, we have to stop it when the date is to stop, because we have to make sure that we have everything in place for those winners. But again, some of it is flexible and some of it is not.
All right. Another question is, can you elaborate on those second chance challenges that was listed?
I would like to, yes, but again, we're just working on the process. I do know, I can tell you, this is basically, hang on, I'm going to pull up my notes here real quick so I can give you a little bit of information. that I'm allowed to give. But there's going to be a second chance for VEX IQ Elementary, VEX IQ Middle School, VRC High School, and VRC Middle School. And I know they're finalizing kind of the outline of it, what it's going to look like. But I can tell you, hold on just a second, bear with me 1 second. And it's basically going to be called Qualification Rewind Online Challenge is what they're looking at the title to be right now. And it says that they want to continue celebrating the achievements of the teams that qualified in 2020 VEX World Fantasy Robotic Tournament. We recognize many students were disappointed. The 2020 VEX Robotics World Championship in Louisville was canceled, so we're excited to share an opportunity that may provide an additional pathway to qualify for 2021 Worlds. And so then it'll go on and explain more and more about that. But it looks to be substantial, and a number of teams will have an opportunity to qualify for Worlds through these challenges that are coming.
Thanks. Oh, I like this next question. Could students be recognized through an additional Tallow recognition badge for a successful entry?
I don't see any reason why not. Amelia being on this call along with Nancy McIntyre, I believe we have to kind of discuss that, but I see that it would be a great idea.
Yeah, me too. And I'm excited that people might be as excited as I was about Tallow. So another question about judging. Does every judge judge every individual entry submitted for a challenge?
No. Typically what will happen is I'll send out an email either to former judges or a list of, maybe I even send it out to coaches, and I will ask you to let me know of the challenges that are listed to be judged. What are your top 3 priorities? What are your 3 favorite you'd like to? Not everybody wants to judge CAD. I don't want to judge CAD. I don't know anything about it. So there's specific areas. We ask judges to let us know if there's teams that are involved, that they're involved in, so we can make sure that we don't put them in that challenge. And then I try to assign it to their first, second, or third preference. And then we kind of break up depending on how many judges I have. If I have 20 judges and I have 4 challenges, then I would assign 5 judges per challenge.
I think the question was more, is it all the same judges for one online challenge? I think it's a question of consistency.
It just depends. So basically, if I have IQ, let me see if I can understand this better. IQ Promote Challenge, if they're the initial phase judge, they would be judging entry number 1 through 50. Let's just go there. I'll have 5 judges judging, 5 different judges judging entry 1 through 50. Then I'll have 5 judges judging entry 51 through 100. It depends on how many challenges and how many judges that I have on what they do for the initial phase. And then again, when I go to the finalist phase, they're all new judges judging them again. Does that make sense?
This one someone didn't put in, but I'm curious. So if someone wanted to volunteer to be a judge for a couple online challenges, what could they expect as far as like workload or commitment to those?
We typically will let judges know that you're looking at about depending on the challenge, about a 3 to 5 hour commitment. For the initial phase, we try to give judges about 2 weeks. So you have a lot of time to fill that in. And again, it's going to be dependent on how many judges I get and how many challenges and how many entries we're looking at. Hopefully, as we see where we're going this year, we're going to have a lot more entries. That's my hope. And then with that, I'm going to need a lot more judges. And so it's going to depend. But we typically will tell judges, you're looking at about a 5 hour commitment, but it's not a one-time sit down 5 hours. You have to do it. You can break it up into 15-minute increments, 30-minute increments, whatever works with your schedule, which is the greatest part about online challenge judging.
Are there, especially for this group, if there's an EP that also happens to be a coach and wants to volunteer to judge, but maybe let's say their team has applied for that online challenge, is there any kind of conflict of interest or you're not allowed to judge for certain challenges?
Yes, what we would ask is they would let us know what their team number is, and we would make sure that they were not included in the judging of that specific challenge for sure. But we would also try to put those judges into a different category. So if they had teams that they, students or their teams actually submitted VRC Promote challenge, then we would probably put them in judging on a website challenge, which has nothing to do with the Promote.
Can judges select which ones they're more interested in judging on?
Yes, again, when I send out an email, when people tell me that they're interested in judging, I will send out an email and I will ask you for your top 3 choices, because of course I can't give everybody their first choice. So I like to at least try to accommodate judges as best as I can, because I can't do this without you.
Perfect. Looks like we only have one more question. And just a reminder, we have about 15 more minutes. And so we'd like to fill up this time with feedback and continual questions from you. But I actually like this next one as a suggestion. Have you ever considered a multi-tier online challenge that goes from a local, regional, and then international?
And that has been discussed. And I know we've had a sponsor in the past that was really wanting to do an international only. It is definitely something that we have discussed and will continue to discuss. Absolutely. I can tell you, in the history of the challenges, we actually had a Texas challenge. It was just for the state of the region of Texas. I'm trying to find out. That went on for about a year or 2, I believe. It's one of our older challenges. Yeah, I'm sorry. It was 2 years, 2014 and 2015. And it was Texas team, what have you learned? And it was a video challenge. So yes, most definitely. We would love to do more regional, state, and especially international. I'm strongly trying to get more ideas about how can we reach out and we can connect with the international teams for sure, especially during these times.
Thanks. So Tanya, it looks like there's a lot of upcoming challenges that will be posted, a lot of changes that are happening. What is the way that EPs can get caught up and follow up on all these moving and new online challenges?
Absolutely. Always go. I actually have a request into our development team right now. We want to kind of change the layout of the website. But again, if you go to online or challenges.robotevents.com, you can see that's our homepage for the online challenges. Right now, what you'll see on there is the 2 challenges that will start tomorrow. We will not reveal the fall challenges until we get closer to that date, because of course we're still working on the back end and getting everything in there properly. But again, you would log in. You can actually look at the challenges without having a login. You don't have to have a user ID. You don't have to have anything. You can look at the challenges and see everything that the students see, everything that parents see, participants, whatever. You can see it. It's all laid out there. But if you wanted to actually submit, you would log in, register. And again, I'm going to work on that 1-page document, and I'm going to try to get it on this page as well. And then you can take a look at those challenges. You won't be able to see the future ones until I put them on there. And hopefully I will have them on there about 1 to 2 weeks prior to the open date.
And I'll just also say those team newsletter and EP newsletters, will be making sure to put any new information on there. So do make sure that you sign up for those that go out once a month.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, let me just quickly just say again, it's very important. These challenges to me, I think, are phenomenal. I think it's an opportunity to get everyone involved, but we can't do it without the community. We can't do it without word of mouth. We can't do it without judges. We can't do it without sponsors. And so any advice or any recommendations that anyone has, the more we can get, the more we can give.
Yes, and it looks like we have a couple more questions coming in. So again, someone's asking, why should teams do online challenge, and more about the benefits for students or teams?
why should students do the online challenges? Well, again, this is just another avenue for students to stay engaged. To me, it's a win-win, and also there's recognition in those online challenges. I can tell you, these CAD students that put some of these challenges in here, that will take them straight to the next career path. Their next job could be relying upon that part that they created. And again, I'm not an engineer. I don't know anything about that stuff. But like I said earlier in my presentation, the interpersonal skills that you learn, these community award challenges, I mean, look at some of the videos that these students created themselves, and went out and how they help the community. I've seen so many teams be creative in how they have been able to help during the COVID crisis that we're in, that built robots. That there's one here locally that built a robot that can go into the hospital room of the patient and deliver what the nurses may need to deliver without them having to go in. There's, like I said, the sky is the limit, so students can use their creativity, and we're trying to make the challenges more challenges so everybody's involved. So if you're not a technical person, but you're a writing person, if you like to talk more than you like to write, we're trying to reach every part of the robotics community, and not just the STEM.
That's a perfect segue into, it looks like more of a comment. So someone wanted to share that same video you were talking about from a group in Colombia that they were promoting with some teams in Colombia of inviting more teams around the world to do research projects that could focus on robotic solutions for facing the new reality with COVID-19. And so to what you had shown, they actually linked the YouTube video in here of serving food to those hospital rooms, and also being able to talk to folks. So is there any thought, I think it's not quite a question, but they think it's a really great example. Is there any thought to maybe have an online challenge research project for the VexIQ team similar to what this one showed?
As far as what they're doing for the community through the crisis?
Yeah.
Yes, actually, it is one that I recommended to a couple of the folks on the contingency planning committee, that I said I would love for us, because I do know firsthand personally from following some of the coaches on Twitter and different places of what they've done. Because some teams have created the face masks, and some people have created, there was one that I saw a team as actually, they go to the grocery store and they pick up the food and they use their robot to then deliver the food to the homes. So there's no connection. It's just kind of like, it's our version of DoorDash, So yeah, absolutely. And it is a challenge that I did present or recommended that somebody come up with an idea. But again, we got to have some of them, we got to have the sponsors, as much as we'd like to do every single challenge we see come across. But yes, absolutely. I would love to see that as a challenge this season.
Another clarifying question. So if they have a registered team, can they still compete in an online challenge, even if they don't know if they're going to actually do a competition in, for instance, VexIQ?
Absolutely. That is the reason, again, as we've stated throughout these last 3 days, we want to do everything we can to support our teams through all of this. And online challenges is one of those ways we're trying to do that. Absolutely. You just have to be a registered team in order to do it, but you don't have to compete, for sure.
Another question was, have you considered a new game challenge where students could come up with a new game idea, complete with a robot design to accomplish the task?
And we have done that challenge in the past, if I'm not mistaken. And again, I believe, and I don't know how many people got the survey from last year. I had asked the question about that challenge or about any challenges that people wanted to see either come back or had any ideas of new challenges, and that was one of them. And again, you can go back to the website and kind of take a look at the history of the challenges. I don't remember the exact name, but absolutely, that would, I'm sure that GDC would love to see your ideas, especially coming from our amazing students.
Another clarifying question, can students use code from last year's game for this programming skills challenge?
Again, I think that's the same question that was asked a minute ago. Are we talking about the annotated challenge? I would like to get clarification from Steve on that before I answer that.
Okay, oh, and this might be a question for Brad if he's on here. So could online challenge finalists be invited to Worlds to present their projects at Worlds with a winner chosen live?
Oh.
Yeah, thanks, Amelia. That's a great question. And one of the things that we've been working on as we've been kind of reimagining what the VEX Worlds experience for teams would be, is continuing down the path that we've started over the last couple of years, which is making sure that we bring more visibility to the online challenges at VEX Worlds. With that said, that's really a compound question. Could all online challenge finalists be invited to VEX Worlds? Well, probably not. Just depending on the time frames of when those online challenges are complete and when finalists are announced and chosen. But certainly some of them can and will be invited to VEX Worlds. Now, the second piece of it is, can at VEX Worlds they present their projects and then choose a winner live? That's something we haven't considered in many, many years, probably at least 6 or 7 years. I don't think it's a bad idea, and our new venue in Dallas may be the right place to do that. We'll take an action item to evaluate that as much as possible and figure out how we're able to meet the goal of increasing visibility for the online challenge and their winners, both for in-person VEX World stuff and potentially virtual VEX World stuff in the future. Because I think we all know in the current climate that there's no way to predict exactly who will be able to come and how many folks will be able to come, if all those finalists could come, or if we could even invite all those finalists. So I think there's a lot of things to be determined, but I like the thinking and really like the idea. So hopefully that helps.
Yep, thanks, Brad. Yeah, we love the ideas, and like Tanya said, this will be a very flexible year, and we're open to suggestions to make this the best for you and your students. It looks like those are all the questions, and we have about 3 minutes. So Tanya, you just want to wrap up with some closing words?
No, that's fantastic. I appreciate it. Amelia, thank you. Brad, thank you for your input there. Again, you can reach out to me. Any suggestions, anything that we weren't able to cover, I'm here for you. And also to reach out to your RSM. Again, nothing is unapproachable, especially during these times. And so the more I hear from you, the more that I can help you. So I appreciate everybody that's been here today. And again, I'm available anytime.